It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Geek out! Hey, welcome to another Someone Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
This week we've got Declan Shalvey coming back on the show. He's here to talk about really everything. You know, all 3 volumes of Injection with a particular emphasis on Injection Volume 3 out in comic book stores now. We talk a bit about Savage Town, which is his original graphic novel, and we also talk his Marvel work.
Absolutely.
More specifically, Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan. The 3rd issue is out in comic book stores and on Comixology now, so get on that. But, you know, without much further ado, let's get that whirlwind of Irish charm that is Mr. Declan Shalvey. And coming back on the show, we have Declan Shalvey. He's the artist and co-creator of the Image Comics series Injection. He is the co-creator and writer of the original graphic novel Savage Town. You can also catch him over in the Marvel scene. He did a critically acclaimed run on Moon Knight, and he's currently writing Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan. The 3rd issue of that miniseries comes out on Wednesday, December 20th. Declan, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, the thing about Injection is it feels like we're 3 volumes deep now. Every volume focuses on one of these 5 main characters, and every arc is kind of its own thing. You saw a more kind of psychological horror with the first arc. I mean, somebody gets like skinned and everything, and then the second arc is almost like evil Sherlock Holmes. This 3rd arc is kind of leans back more into horror. Is it kind of you and Warren's intention to kind of do a more macro British horror, almost like Planetary?
I mean, I can't speak for Warren, but I remember when we were talking about Injection, you know, he said, like, what do you want to do? And in my head, my thinking was, I'd like to do Planetary, please. Because I love it, but I wouldn't have said that to him because I wouldn't want to insult a writer by going, could you do the thing you already did? Mm-hmm. But Planetary is my favorite work of Warren's, and I loved once he started kind of throwing stuff at me. What I think of this, I was like, yeah, this feels like I think some people have described it as a kind of a British Planetary, which kind of, you know, I can see where they're coming from with there. But yeah, no, I think each book is scratching a slightly different genre itch. Mm-hmm. You know, Warren kind of describes Bridget as being a kind of a pseudo Doctor Who type. And Vivek was a kind of a Sherlock Holmes, you know, so there's these kind of slightly archetypal characters that these guys kind of fit in within those genres. So what I kind of like about I tend to take a little break between each book. Wasn't planned, it's just kind of how it worked out. But what I love about coming back to at the first issue of a new arc is it nearly feels like a new book each time, you know?
Sure. You do make a couple Doctor Who references in this one, and if memory serves, I mean, there's certainly a Captain Kirk reference, but I think there's also a Zephram Cochrane reference, which is like, that's a deep cut right there.
Is that? I can't remember. I would have picked up on that.
There's one of the chats as Bridge is going through when she first gets the super contacts.
Yeah.
There's a commenter named Zero Cochrane, and I'm like, well, I know Deck's big on the Star Trek.
Jeez, you're right. Actually, I totally didn't realize that. There was none of that was in the script. He described like little kind of inbox tab, but so I drew it in, and I realized we're gonna need, you know, like whenever you open like your app, you'll always see the first couple of lines of an email. Right. So I left them blank, but I said to Warren, "Oh, we would probably need something here." So he came back a couple of days later with all that madness. Like, but you're right, actually, I'd forgotten about that.
It was it was pretty cool seeing that.
Yeah, sorry, just looking at them again.
I want to say it was like issue 1 or 2 of the 3rd arc. So yeah, I guess issue.
The first one. It was issue 11.
Right. So with this one, I remember you mentioning you kind of like establishing sequences, especially silent establishing sequences. You see it in the first couple arcs of Injection. You certainly see it in Savage Town as well, as you see these kind of cityscape shots of Limerick. With this one, there are a lot more. I feel like more than any other arc of Injection so far, there are a lot of silent sequences, including without spoiling too much, metal as hell like climax. Was that something that you and Warren had kind of worked out? And, did he kind of write more towards like, oh, this is just going to be, just let your imagination go buck wild with this sequence?
I wish I could tell you that we sat down and said, like, here's the X, Y, and Z we're going to do. I never know. I never know what Warren's responding to. I find out more from his newsletter than I ever do from his actual emails. Because he just hands me the scripts, and I think he made a point of saying one time that he kind of likes handing things over just to see what I will do or what Jordy and I will do, Mm-hmm. I think he probably does know that I do like silent sequences because I probably pointed them out before how much I really like them. But what I love about Warren is like Warren can be as verbose as you could possibly imagine if he wanted to be,
Sure.
Like his words are like weapons. But I love that he's a writer that doesn't feel the need to just, write you into submission. Mm-hmm. You pick up some comics and there's just so many fucking words. I love that he's somebody who understands that writing a comic does not equals the amount of words that are in captions, There's plenty of sequences I think that like just would have gummied up the storytelling, Mm-hmm. Now I feel we work pretty well because Warren doesn't do like lettering drafts. He doesn't reapproach the script after I've drawn it. So it's very specifically, the storytelling is very specifically planned around how he's written the characters and the speaking order and how he's paced it. And so I feel like, and like Funographics will see, he'll see like my lettering placements and stuff. So it's dialogue wise, it's pretty tightly constructed as where everything's going to go. But I feel that Warren, I mean, as an artist, you never really know what a writer likes about your stuff. I remember reading an interview with Jeff Parker once where he kind of, when I was working on Thunderbolts with Kev Walker, he complimented Kev on something specific and he complimented me on something specific. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I was good at that, because I think the writers that work with you are really the ones who are really, really going to like know your work the best, ideally. And I think maybe just Warren knows what I respond to really well, maybe.
Well, there's nobody that draws a kind of an action sequence like you do. There's certainly, you see it in Moon Knight where he's just kind of going up the stairs and like kicking the shit out of basically half of Harlem or
whoever gets in his way.
Yeah. And you see it. I mean, the first arc of Injection was very deliberate and very, there was a lot of tension and kind of a slow burn there. But certainly with Arc 2 and Arc 3, you really hit the ground running. And I feel at this point is Injection the longest gig, at least consecutive gig that you ever had on a title?
I think so. I think if I added up all of my issues of Thunderbolts, I think I did 12 or 13. I think. I remember I added them up one day because it turned into Dark Avengers at one stage, so maybe a little more. But yeah, so I have 15 issues done now of Injection, so it's definitely the longest so far. And I'll be doing, there's another 10 to go, so it definitely will be by the time I'm done.
At this, where do you kind of get the inspiration for? This is kind of an odd question, but where do you get the inspiration for violence? When you're visualizing it for the comic page.
Because I'm not. It's the same thing with like earlier in my career. I ended up doing a lot of horror comics, but I don't really like horror as a genre. I'm not into it. I'm not into looking at gore. I'm not. I don't. It's not something I'm into. But I really like drawing it. It kind of sucks because when you're drawing violent things, I mean, like you'll end up looking up reference. So as you can imagine with Injection, I've looked up some really fucked up things, But the worst is rats. I hated. There was a issue of Moon Knight where there were rats, and I just thought they freaked me the fuck out. But like things like there's a sequence where somebody basically gets ripped apart. So I'm literally just trying to look up what organs look like, figuring out like exactly how skeletons are put together, things like that. I mean, this is kind of the fun part of being an artist is you're always learning,
Do you ever worry about your Google search history?
No. A little. I don't know if you noticed. There's been a penis in every volume of Injection so far.
Oh, I noticed, man. Rasputin's apparently hung like a fucking horse.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, oh, I gotta look this up. And like I will say, it was very fun to draw. It was such a weird looking thing. It was actually fun to draw. But I really hope there's I hope there's one in four and volume five just to keep it consistent. But those are probably the worst things I've had to look up. Trying to think, some weird weapons. There's bound to be some, like, trying to look up if there are examples of human meat. Yeah, actually, you know what? Maybe I should wipe my computer. It's
Yeah.
nothing I need to be worried about as regards inappropriate stuff, but just stuff that would make me look like a fucking weirdo. Yeah, definitely.
I was talking to Scott Snyder last week, and he would like,
Sorry, I'm just imagining myself like it was in the book. I swear.
yeah, just getting like carted away. But I was talking to Scott Snyder last week, and he was like, yeah, the weird thing about my search history is like I'll like Google search like how to dissolve a body and stuff like that. But it's like at the same time I'm also like Google searching my kids' soccer games. So if anybody like connected at all, they would be like knocking down my door in a second.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because doing research as an artist is kind of it's different to doing research as a writer where you need to figure out like facts, whereas as an artist you need to figure out how it works. You know what I mean? Like if I needed to know how far a bullet could fly before it disintegrates, you can Google that. But drawing how a bullet disintegrates is something totally different. You know?
Right.
I think there's a lot of that type of stuff. Like, because Warren is really, really good for giving me the, if he has a specific gun, he gives me where to get good, like, good examples of reference, and then I find myself. There was a really cool gun that Winters had in Volume 2 that was like really easy, like it was designed to be easily concealed. And he took it through an airport, and you're looking this stuff up, and you're like, "This is fucked up. I didn't know any of this." Like, and then you start looking up like videos of people firing weapons at different ranges and how it can be a rabbit hole sometimes because it's not the figuring out the facts, it's figuring out the how can be a bit of a black hole you fall into.
I mean, God, I'm just thinking about like that there has to somehow be Dix and Robin and Sim's story now because they're the only two guys left from that core cast, and I would assume Robin is probably the last man because it's always kind of I feel like if there's a running thread among the five, he's the most reluctant, so he's got to be the one that shuts it all down at the end of the day.
Yeah, he'll be in the last volume, and the next one will be basically unhinged Bond. Is kind of how I'm looking at it, because I really like Warren's James Bond stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think, what would this be like if there was no restrictions? So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's weird. A part of me thinks that you could pick, as we were saying about how the different arcs are, it's differently kind of contained. I wonder if you could read it out of order. I think you could actually read Injection Volume 3 as a first one. Because you kind of start with Bridget, and you may not know what the group were or what's happened before, but it's not necessarily you don't need to know as such. I think, don't get me wrong, I would read better 1 to 3, but I do kind of like how contained they are in that regard.
It's like a Doctor Who series. You could watch like David Tennant's like second season, or and then not without having seen the first.
Yeah, because I think because it focuses primarily on one character. The other characters are kind of backup, so you're never really going like, "Who's this?" Because like, and I'll notice it from drawing the book. I think I drew Winters once, and I think I drew Robin like in like 5 or 7, no, but maybe 11 pages in the whole volume, and Maria just shows up in like a few panels. So like these characters they kind of come in and out, but because it kind of focuses on one more, that they are the kind of thing that takes you through the actual plot.
You had mentioned a predilection towards penis across the series. I was wondering what I'm gonna maybe.
That's a fun sentence just to say.
I literally spent like 30 seconds thinking it up. I was like, what?
I saw the look on your face. You
yeah.
Like,
a panache, the plethora, but also you guys. There's a recurring theme of like. At least a recurring element, maybe not theme, but a recurring element of sandwiches across the first 3 arcs too.
Oh yes.
Do you guys just dig like sandwiches, like with human ham occasionally?
I can't remember. It was just in the first. It was in the first issue, and it just kept making that sandwich joke, and I think I remarked how much I liked it, but I have no idea if that is what made Warren write more and lean into it. Because then I did a sandwich variant, just because I was liking it so much. Because that's the thing, it was my first creator-owned comic. I'm just gonna throw it out there, throw ideas out there. But yeah, I think it has become something that Warren seems to go back to. Sure, the whole the whole like thing that starts the plot device in Volume 3 was a sandwich.
Yep. Now, you had mentioned Injection is your first creator-owned. Since launching Injection, you've written and released Savage Town with Phil Barrett. How has working on, kind of continuing to develop your skills as a writer, how's that kind of affected your approach with Injection?
I think Warren's an extra good writer now. I wouldn't say it's changed. I mean, because I've drawn stuff with other writers before, so it's not. I don't read scripts going, I would do this differently. I'm not one of those artists who needs to decide how to change everything. As I was writing Savage Town, I made a point of writing a full script. When I'm writing the Deadpool Man Logan, it's a full script because I don't want to fuck around, basically. The same way that I don't fuck around with Warren's scripts. I think when we started on Moon Knight, he made a point of saying at one stage, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but effectively, if he has a specific idea, he specifically wants me to kind of do that. Otherwise, he doesn't mind what I do. And I think that I got the sense as long as I don't mess with a specific idea, that he's happy. But then, if Warren has a specific idea, I'd be an idiot not to use it. If I was going to go, actually, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, who's probably got a better idea right now, me or Warren Ellis? It's probably Warren Ellis, So yeah, I'm not going to scripts now and going this should be done differently. If anything, I'm still learning. I think I'm very lucky that I get to pull apart these scripts every few weeks and put them back together again. And I think it's definitely made me a better writer. So I think I'll just go back into that mode of I'm gonna analyze this and learn from it, really.
I was wondering if we could switch trains here and jump over to Marvel for a second. I think that since we last spoke, Becky Cloonan's Punisher run has ended, and you, during that run, put forth some of the coolest fucking Punisher covers.
Including a James Bond Punisher cover.
Oh, yeah, just the fucking great covers.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, and just the creativity of it, too. I loved it. And, it really helped just flesh out the whole run. So congratulations and props on that, because those are beautiful stuff.
Thanks. I appreciate that, man. It was great to kind of have a book to. It was basically like a design brief every month, and how am I going to solve this problem? Because if you do if you do a variant cover or it's a Spider-Man or whatever, that's always fun, as a comic book nerd and as a fan. But being the artist on a book kind of gives you a certain level of, I don't say authorship over it, because you're not the author, but you're the salesperson basically, and you're trying to come up with the best idea to sell this story. And I really, really enjoy that every month. I was actually looking over them there the other day, and I'm really, really, to sound like a total dickhead, but I am really, really happy with them as a group. Oh
yeah, they're fantastic. And Sam was talking about that was it Punisher 17, that last cover where it's very James Bond-esque, and he has the skull cufflinks, which is perfect.
A nice touch, that.
Yeah, very nice touch.
I don't know. Did you notice the wallpaper?
No, what's the
wallpaper is all skulls.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at it now. Of course, yes. I was so focused on the cufflinks, but yes, that's fucking.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
That message, you got the message across. But that was, again, I'll say the only thing that bugs me about that is that you actually see Punisher.
Yeah.
And it was an argument that Jay Thomas, the editor, was making, is it's the last cover, so I think it's okay that we see him. But part of me is really bothered that we do see him, because you don't really see him in any of the other covers. But it still looks cool. I am really happy with the cover itself, because it's nice to, Yeah, because I as well I hand drew every single skull in the background, like barely anybody notices it, and everyone assumes it was just copied and pasted digitally, but I actually drew the whole thing because I'm an idiot.
Well, it's out there now, and I know about it now, so hopefully more
Good,
people know
good.
about it because, yeah. But also the Deadpool Old Man Logan 2 issues that are out right now. That is like when I come across something funny in a comic, even if it's really funny, like I internally laugh, like I don't laugh out loud, you know. But the first page of issue 1 is one of the funniest fucking things I've seen, and it's just total overkill in the best way possible. How much fun is it? How much fun is it for you on writing that book?
It feels like I shouldn't be paid for it. Like yeah, it was difficult because to me they're not really versus books; they're team up books.
Yeah.
But versus is a cooler title. But the cool thing about Deadpool and Old Man Logan is even if they're working together, they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So my kind of like thing is how do I have them fight, work together, and they it's cool because they just naturally butt heads each time.
Yeah.
And also, I want to go overkill because especially with the two of them having the healing factor, I want to push that as much as I can, which is great fun. It's great fun to figure out how you can do that, but I also have to pace myself. I can't just like do it all in issue 1 because then where's the story going to go? So it's been kind of fun to kind of like try and like raise the level of madness issue to issue, But I just did a lettering draft for issue 4, and I just got the colors in for issue 5, and I'm just so happy with it. It looks so like Mike Henderson just did an amazing job drawing it and Lee Lowers coloring it, and I just feel so guilty. I didn't have to draw it. I just drew the covers, and I just got to basically come up with stuff I'd love to draw if I was drawing it, and see it done so well by Mike. Yeah, I feel very guilty for taking the money to write it. I took the money though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but speaking of like, Mike and the art team, I mean, they're absolutely killing it because like the action in that
Mr.
book.
Nailbiter himself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's just elements where like, Logan and Deadpool are like jumping into a hail of gunfire, and it's just the craziest shit. But also like something that I really like too that like I think works really well with Deadpool and Wolverine, talking about like their kind of not a versus book, but more of a team up book of these guys that are kind of brutal towards each other. Is that they're both born of the same thing, and there's a really nice moment in I think issue 2 where it's like the first time you really see Deadpool kind of not joke around. Where like I think Logan says something like people being taken advantage of, and the Weapon X program, and he's like, all about that, right, buddy? And he's like, yeah, I do. And it's like one of the few times where when Deadpool like stops joking around,
that's when you get
that's scary.
worried. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love those little touches.
Because when I probably know I drew Deadpool for a bit, and when I was offered the book, I was like, because I wasn't a Deadpool fan.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was working on it with Jerry Duggan, he made me really, really like that character. And for me, Deadpool is basically a little boy,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Logan bothers him so much, is because he actually respects him, and he wants his approval, but he doesn't get it, which really, really upsets him. That's why he's so childish, because he's trying to beat Old Man Logan at Old Man Logan best of what he does or whatever. But so Deadpool is being immature by trying to beat him at his own game. But the reason is underneath it all is that he really wants him to approve of him. And I felt like in the story we did with Jerry, the good, the bad, and the ugly, he actually did win Logan's respect, but Logan's dead now, and it's Old Man Logan, and he doesn't have that relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was the tough thing. Was like, how do I, Deadpool's going to project all this stuff onto Old Man Logan, but Old Man Logan isn't necessarily of this world, so he's not really going to give a crap about Deadpool. But yeah, it's moments like that. I'm a big, like, I need emotion. I need reasons to care about characters. And so no matter how crazy the action is or how epic the scale or bombastic it is, I need a reason to give a shit about characters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me is the emotional read through there. It's the fact that Deadpool actually is vulnerable about this stuff, and so is Old Man Logan too. The two of them are they're so obsessed trying to save this girl, basically, like that they're just blasting through and not really thinking about what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, no, I love the little moments like that because it works so well when you do have, vehicles falling on top of them and all kinds of craziness.
Progressively larger vehicles.
Yes, the best kind. Also,
that first scene is basically a Roadrunner cartoon.
Oh, it's so good. Because I was reading it on digitally on Comixology, and it has like the action swipe, so it doesn't show the full page. So it was just like boom, bang, 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 and I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I just thought like it's just because I try and have a visual idea, I try have. Because I talked to Mike beforehand, and I just and I actually hate the question. I hate being asked what do you want to draw, but I did ask Mike, like, is there anything you actually do want to draw? And I think he just said after like all the hundreds of Nailbiters pages he drew, he just wanted to. I think he just didn't want to draw talking scenes anymore. He wanted to draw something. He wanted to go nuts. So I'm like, well, you want to go nuts? Let's go nuts. No, I tried to make a point. I'm trying to make sure, like, okay, I need to give Mike stuff to really, really cut loose. Because also this is kind of his first big superhero thing, so it was important to me to showcase Mike as much as possible.
Oh yeah, and you do that well because he shines on this book for sure.
It's a little too much for my liking. Like, yeah, art credit and everything, but let's remember who the great guy is.
There's like the director's cut versions. It's like, oh my god, this is just a completely different version, just drawn by Declan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Am I that petty? Yes, I am.
Well, if I remember correctly, there's a scene, I think, in issue 2 where there's some graffiti sprayed on one of the dumpsters, which was kind of funny. I don't know if you remember what I said.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
I won't say it just so everyone else can, see what I'm talking about. But that.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Also,
the third one, the one coming up, I think is kind of probably funny again. But the fourth one is there's just so much stuff in it. I was writing, I was like, oh god, I wish I was drawing this one, just because it's if you're a Wolverine fan, it's just I think it's epic Wolverine type stuff. So yeah, I had to hand over that script, like, you do it. But no, I was so happy with how it came back. Mike, he's just knocked it out of the park so much.
I'm looking forward to it because it's got to be talking about Deadpool, of course, but it's got to be cool as shit to write Logan because he's like
writing snicked on that script has got to be the best.
My thing is it. This might just be a super nerd thing for me, but like, how cool is it to write Bub? Because that's like the coolest thing ever.
Bullshit. It was the coolest fucking thing.
I'm so glad because here's the thing, like, I loved Logan, like the movie Logan. I had some problems here and there, but I loved Logan. But one of the things that bugged me about that movie so much is he doesn't say bub once in it, and
That's fair.
And I'm I don't know why, like, I'm such a nerd for when he says bub, but I'm reading the book and you throw bub in there and I'm just like, fuck yes.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's one thing I learned from Warren. When I was writing the Nick Fury story, he gave me great advice, and he said that a lot of artists who tend to overwrite. Mm-hmm. And I tried making a point of like, it really pisses me off as an artist when I see reviews for books and people are like, there's not much writing in this just because there aren't any words. Mm-hmm. And like I said with Warren, like, you're not going to read Injection and go like, Warren's not a good writer because there's not enough dialogue in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's a tool, and it taught me he's working with him has certainly really helped me informed how I like to be as economic as possible and not muddy up the storytelling. If there's big blocks of texts, and tails from the balloons crossing over each other, it just jammies up the process of telling a story. So I try and be concise and direct as I can. And the cool thing about writing Logan is, or Old Man Logan, I should say, is losing words. Like, he wouldn't go like, I think there's something wrong. He would just say, think there's something wrong. Like, just knowing how to kind of like where to write nothing instead of nothing. Where you don't want to bub it up. I was trying to like, don't use bub too much, just use it in the right place.
Yeah.
But I have to say, writing like Old Man Logan came very naturally to me because his voice is in my head. Like I grew up with that voice, you know.
Yeah.
It was I would say easy. It was easy to write him. No, easy is the right word. It just came very, very naturally to me. Deadpool was harder because, you know, Old Man Logan is a curmudgeon and he's going to resist any fun and any frolic, and that's, you know, that reaction is always easy to write. But with Deadpool, it's like you said, where do I want to have the emotion? Where do I want to have the jokes? The line of it being annoying and funny, or even trying to make sure it's funny, because you know, writing humor is pretty hard. With humor in comics, it's hard because it's all about timing, and it's tough. You know, it was tough to draw the stuff that Jerry wrote because of timing, and it's also tough to write for, say, Mike, because you know, sometimes maybe there might be a slight variation on a placement, I thought, or whatnot. So it's a little fine tuning, but Deadpool was the hardest one. But I think, again, for me, he's just kind of like an insecure little boy who's acting out.
Yeah. Was writing this miniseries fresh off of Savage Town, kind of like just a strawberry sundae, because Savage Town, I mean, goes into some very personal places. It's, you know, this kind of, it's a little slice of life, a little, what is the guy that wrote, that did those Irish crime films in the 80s? I think it starts, it's not gonna, I'll just say Guy Ritchie, even though he's not Irish and didn't do crime films in the 80s. Was it, fuck it all. But yeah.
Or the McDonoughs, although that wasn't in the 90s, that was the 2000s.
No, yeah, it wasn't Martin, it was the first guy. Yeah, but
John Borman. He did The General, and who did The Name of the Father? Jim Sheridan, maybe.
Yeah. But was coming fresh off Savage Town, a much more, you know, serious, personal story, was just doing the superhero stuff, because I think you did a Venomverse story as well. Was that just kind of like, oh, this is just cake, this is delicious?
Well, look, yes, definitely. But, you know, cake, it was definitely cake, and it was such a thrill to be offered to write something I didn't have to draw, because it was something I wanted to do, and I was very grateful for the gig, which of course puts pressure because I didn't want to let down the editor, who was really taking a chance on me, to be fair. I was Heather Antos, Jordan White offered it to me, and I've worked with them a lot, and I really didn't want to let them down. So there was kind of a bit more pressure in some ways. Mm-hmm. With Savage Town, it was just, you know, me. It was exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure that they weren't doing me any favors. I was writing it properly, that I wasn't causing any, you know, I didn't want them to give me a pass just because I do art, you know. I wanted to make sure that I was working with them at the capacity for proper writer. So I had some pressure in that regard, definitely. But there was a bit of back and forth. There was a bit of fine tuning between me and Heather with the scripts and stuff like that. But I similarly to working with Sebastian Gerner on Savage Town, who, you know, he didn't write the book for me, but he held my hand through the process. So kind of Heather did the same for this book. So, you know, I'd be like, is this okay? But she would say, look, if I didn't think this was good, I would tell you. So, you know, it was good because I was definitely a little insecure because, again, Savage Town, there was no demand for that book from fans, but, you know, Old Man Logan and Deadpool definitely has fan expectation. So I was expecting more backlash from that, but the response seemed to be really, really good. Everyone seemed to like it, and I appreciate the fact that, like, you know, Heather and Jordan took a chance on one, me as a writer, but two, Mike as an artist who hadn't really done a whole lot. I'd like to think that, you know, the risk paid off.
Well, fun fact. First off, no backlash because the book's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and also don't sell yourself short. The covers are great too, because the cover, the cover coming up for number 3 is one of my favorite covers, where it's just the fucking claws through Deadpool's head, and he's got like one eye closed, like, shit.
This is a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, and I wanted to stretch out the other one too. Again, like it's you know, you get to play with those cartoonier aspects with Deadpool. I didn't think they'd let me do it, to be honest, because it's, you know, it's someone being stabbed 3 times in the head on a cover. But the mask helps. It was actually Heather's idea to have one of those blades stick out.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
because I originally in the rough I didn't have that because I thought the only way this will work is if there aren't any blades showing because it's a but no and it looks better the way it is, but I'm glad that the editor's note made the piece better. It doesn't always happen, so it's really cool when it does. But no, the covers were fun. Like I said, man, I just felt like I just drew a crap load of rubble on the fifth one. I'm like, this whole story is just an excuse to draw rubble on the fifth cover. But at the same time, it was great working on those covers because I find that a lot of Deadpool covers tend to kind of blur together sometimes because of the red logo and the red costume. And I think sometimes when I look in a comic shop and I look at all the Deadpool comics, and they don't stand out as much because of the nature of the character and the stories, they kind of get cobbled together. So I really wanted to try to do a different take and use a lot of negative space. Like with Deadpool versus Old Man Logan, you do not need a whole lot of background for that. You just want to see, the action. So I tried to basically have them fight, have a lot of negative space, and really let the kind of title design shine because I find out unify it as a separate miniseries. I was hoping because there's lots of other Versus books as well. I wanted this book to feel like a brand new mini, not the seventh Deadpool Versus book. I know it is the seventh Deadpool Versus book basically, but I still when you see that cover, I wanted you to go like, "Ooh, this looks like something cool."
Yeah, it did. It does. All the above.
The other fun fact is the interview we have right after you is with Heather Antos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's coming on to talk Gwenpool, so we'll be
excellent. Well, make sure you tell her how great Deadpool versus Old Man Logan is.
Of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, lay that all on. Now, Deck, it hasn't been solicited yet. I know you mentioned that you take breaks between arcs, and you're certainly keeping busy. But when can we potentially expect an issue 16 of Injection?
I would say not for the first half of 2018. It'll be the last half. I'm doing something else. It's an arc of something that I can't say, but I'm pretty excited about it. But it's a work for hire. It's not creator owned. It's drawing a work for hire book on a character I really like with a writer I really like. So yeah, I'm doing my best dancing around it. But Injection. It'll be the same arc, but issue 16. It'll be the last half of the year. Yeah, that's. I don't want to say exactly when because I think I said exactly when last time, and we were pushed back a couple of months. So I really don't want to screw anyone around and say when I don't know exactly when.
Your new book is about Captain Picard, isn't it?
Oh, how I wish.
Well, good old Jean-Luc. So, Declan, as you may recall, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you currently geeking out over?
Well, that Punisher series, I liked the crap out of that. I watched the whole thing in like 2 or 3 days. I thought it was excellent. I saw a lot of people complaining that it was kind of like gun porn on Twitter and stuff, but I thought it was really responsible with how it kind of portrayed guns and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was totally super violent in places, but at the same time, like the first episode, there's like one person shot basically. I thought I love the characters. Yeah, I really really liked that. I'm really liking The Good Place. I'm geeking out about that a lot. I really hate that it's on hiatus right now because I was really really getting into it. What else am I geeking out about? I finally caught up on Rick and Morty. That's amazing, of course, but I was kind of holding off for a while. I'm re-geeking out about 30 Rock because I love that show and I hadn't watched it in a long long time. What else? I'm watching a lot of stuff. I think last time I talked to you guys, I wasn't really watching anything, but I've been trying to catch up on a lot of stuff in the last few months.
Well, I mean, I remember and you had done the covers for IDW. You were
Trek. Yeah. I really like it. Really like that. Well, did you watch? Have you watched it or?
I don't have CBS All Access.
Oh, okay, because we have it on Netflix here, so you can just watch it, no problem.
Oh. Damn
pretty
region
great.
protection. I can watch the first episode, and I hear good things, and I love Michelle Yeoh, and I know that Jason Isaacs is always.
I love Jason Isaacs. He's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I would watch anything with that man in it.
I think I have.
Well, he had that.
Did you watch Brotherhood?
Okay, maybe I missed that Jason Isaacs. Damn, you
No,
got me.
because you should check it out. It's an American TV show. It's set like was it Rochester or something? But it's basically a crime. It's a crime story. It's about two brothers. One's basically a criminal, and the other's a politician. And it's and Jason Isaac is the criminal, and can't remember the name of the actor, but he's the guy who was in the new Terminator film, and I think what's his name. But like amazing cast. What's her name? Maureen Flanagan, the Irish actress, plays the mother in it. It's great. It's really, really great. It was, I think, when Netflix first started here in Ireland, it was on there. So I'd say it's the show is probably like 8 years old now or something. But it was made in the States, so I'd look it up. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that Jason Isaacs should star in a movie with Timothy Dalton. They look like they're related, and I love both of those actors.
That's your favorite Bond.
Oh yeah, Timothy Dalton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best looking Bond, definitely.
Okay, since we've circled around Bond a couple times, and the fourth arc of Injection's looking Bondian, who is your favorite Bond actor / film?
I'm not a massive Bond fan, even though I'm writing a Bond thing now. But it's kind of tough because when I was a kid, what would be on TV would be the Roger Moore stuff, and that's when he'd like jump out of a building and be he'd undo a parachute and be the British flag, and being Irish, seeing the Union Jack waved around a lot, you'd be like, eh. But and also by the time I saw the Connery stuff, it was just a little too old to me. I do really like Daniel Craig. I think he is excellent. I think Skyfall was. I love Sam Mendes' films, so that was like a perfect amalgamation of like, big tempo action movie mixed with like all the cinematic influence, prestige that I really like. That one, and Casino Royale is really good. I really like that one too. Because I'm not such a massive fan. The newest stuff probably is the stuff that kind of hits me most, I think.
Not fellow Irishman Pierce Brosnan.
I love Bronholm, but
Bronholm, yes.
The films weren't that great though.
That's fair. Did you ever this? I don't know why I own this.
Tomorrow Never Dies was out when I was in school, and I wasn't going to go see it. And a friend of mine said, "Deck, I got 2 words for you: invisible car."
Oh.
And no, I still didn't. Even though I fancied Terry Hatcher like mad, and I knew she was in it, I still haven't seen it. But I think it was getting pretty bonkers around then.
Mentioned on the topic of Bronholm, I don't know why I own this film. I don't know if you've ever seen this film. I own Taffin.
Wow. Maybe you shouldn't be living here.
Oh, the best line ever.
There it is.
I don't know if you ever heard the Adam and Joe podcast.
Oh yeah, where they make it like almost like it was a trap remix.
I die laughing. Maybe you shouldn't be living here. I haven't seen Taffin. I did see though. I recently saw a film called Evelyn, starring Pierce Brosnan as the father of these kids, and the Irish state takes them away to orphanages, and he tries to win them back by by stopping drinking and becoming a good father. And it's so bad because he tries to do a working class Dublin accent, and even though Pierce Brosnan is Irish, he has a very kind of an English accent, and it's oh god, it's awful. It's so it was so bad, but so good.
So, but I guess one last question before we go. What is it about street-level characters like The Punisher and Moon Knight and Daredevil that really appeals to you, both as a fan and as a creator?
It's a fair question. I don't know. I guess the level of disbelief is. I mean, they are still like ridiculous, like guy gets hit by acid and can hear amazingly or whatever, like they are crazy, silly stories. but there's a sliver of groundedness to them that uh, keeps me engaged emotionally, you know. Um, like cosmic stories kind of lose me. I mean, I'm a big Trek fan, but like with superheroes, cosmic stories, I have a hard time with them in general. Although I really like the new Jerry's Guardians of the Galaxy, but uh, yeah, there's a level of spectacle and epicness that sometimes kind of makes me feel less personally involved, and I think maybe that's why I like Rick's X-Men stuff because it felt grounded. Even I mean, it was all total superheroics, but it just felt like the characters they were flawed, and it felt that they had, I guess, similar to those old Spider-Man comics. They all had problems and they all weren't perfect, and they were more. I guess they feel more relatable to me. I don't know why my family weren't massacred in a park, and I don't have a load of guns to avenge them. But I think those types of characters, for some reason, they just hit me on an emotional level more, I guess.
I feel like you can really see. I mean, what's his name? Matt Murdock is very. I feel like, is Murdock an Irish name? I'm exposing my.
It's not, but I mean, like Frank Miller wrote him as Irish Catholic. Like I'd love to do something with that someday. Like, because I'm not religious, but like Ireland is, we're very much steeped in a kind of a cultural Catholicism, and it would be kind of interesting to kind of like. It would be kind of interesting to kind of like look at that, because it's a thing that like I'm not like I was baptized Catholic, but I don't believe in any of that. So it would be interesting to kind of like, as an adult, go back and look at a lot of that type of stuff through a superhero lens. Might be interesting,
Yeah, kind of Absolutely. Lean into it. Call it Daredevil Celtic Cross or something to that effect.
No, I haven't. I have a thing in my head someday. I'd love to like write and draw a Daredevil story. So it's definitely kind of going in the idea box.
Fair enough. Well, Declan,
thing that might be a bit too. I don't want to do that thing where the only thing I ever do is Irish stuff. I made a point. No Irish stuff in Deadpool versus Man Logan. Nothing.
Yeah, you could always do Shang-Chi.
Yes. Shang-Chi.
Develops
that would go down wonderfully.
Develops an affinity for Magners, and I think now that you're on again, I think I owe you 2 pints because I never got to that. I was actually at the Marvel party. I was invited by Trad Moore to go to the Marvel party at New York Comic Con. First off, man. It was really fucking loud, but second off, because I don't know if you remember, after that first time, I owed you a pint of Magners, and by the virtue of you,
I never forget.
By the virtue of you being back, I guess, are you going to be at Emerald City in March?
I wasn't planning on it, but I think I might just go for the laugh. I'm not sure.
Got a couple pints waiting for you then. Just putting that out there.
That is actually a pretty... Although it's hard to get Magners. I was never able to get Magners there at some other shite, but will do, sure.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I'll hold you to it. If I make it, I will hold you to it.
The thing about Seattle is it's definitely a cider town, but it's all really bitter, dry ciders.
Yeah. They're not sweet ones, but I mean it'll do in a pinch. But I prefer the sweet ones. Although there's a lot more sweet in the last couple of years. There's more sweet ciders over here, but they're too sweet. Yeah. I can have 3 pints, but then after that, I'm like, Jesus, it's fucking too fucking much. I need to. For me, Bulmers is the right level of sweet and sour cider. But like, a lot of the kind of more comments, like a lot of the British ciders are very dry. I wouldn't be too hot in them, but like, it's better than beer.
Yeah. Well, Deck, before we let you go back into the wilds of Dublin, is there anything else you want to plug?
No, I think we've covered everything really, which is a bloody lot. Injections out. Old Man Logan, or Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan, is on the 20th, and there's 3 more issues of that to go.
Savage Town, of course.
Sorry?
Savage Town, of course.
Oh, Savage Town, of course, yeah. That came out over a month ago. It would make a lovely Christmas present, so everybody should pick one up. So we're thinking so much bloody stuff in the can. It's hard to remember it all. But in February I'm writing a James Bond M one shot, but that PJ Holden is drawing, and that's February that'll be out in.
Right. Very cool. Well, You heard it here first, guys. Deck, thanks for coming back on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Thanks a million.
Always a lovely time with Deck.
Yeah, I didn't know we were recording.
Do I need to get a
no,
recording light?
That's all good. I just looked up and Sam started talking. I had the cough, and I was like, I got to get away from the mic.
Just looking right at you like,
oh, shit.
what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, Jake. Say it was a lovely chat.
Yes.
Say You Will
Yeah.
by Stevie Nicks.
Mm-hmm.
You guys get into anything?
Oh, well. I've never asked this question.
Oh, whenever turns it around on us.
I'm still in the middle of playing Doom 2016. It's my favorite Xbox One game, and maybe my favorite game of all time. It's a fucking bloodbath. It's so good. I bought the soundtrack today too, because for the longest time I was listening to whenever the shit would hit the fan, which is all the time on that in that game. I would start playing Speed King by Deep Purple off of Deep Purple and Rock, and basically listen to that whole album. And then I was like, well, this also has a great fucking soundtrack because it's just like heavy metal and like electronic techno badass when everything in the shit hits the fan. So I was like, well, and I don't buy like my old roommate in college. He had like all like the Mario and like Zelda stuff like on his iTunes, but I never like was really like I never bought like video game music, and at least I don't think I have. But so like I typed in Doom and the soundtrack came up, and it's just fucking like it's the perfect music to have on when you're doing something because it's just fucking hardcore, just insane, just heavy metal. You know, I was trying to think of something else, but it's just heavy metal. It's just the greatest. And, you know, there's no vocals. There's
Still
like
rock and roll to me.
Exactly the opposite. And, you know, there's like intros like they have during the game talking about the Doom Slayer and stuff. Because for the longest time, you know, the character's known as Doom Guy. But in this one, I think this is the first one they refer to him as the Doom Slayer. And you slay.
Rain and
Commander
Blood.
Keen's great uncle or something like that.
You just...
Something like that,
You
yeah.
just fucking...
Ken knows.
Yeah.
You fucking go nuts. It's so much fun. I haven't beat it yet, and
Is it hard?
It is, and it's great because, and I'm not when I say this, I'm not talking about like, oh, these games suck, because I like the Call of Duty games like Gears of War, although I think I've only ever played to beat the first one. But like the cover and health regeneration, whatever first person shooter is like big, and like we grew up when that wasn't a thing. Like playing GoldenEye back in the day, like you needed body armor, you know, to like save the day. And I remember really getting into the Call of Duty games, playing those, and kind of falling into the lull of that. And then they re-released GoldenEye with like Daniel Craig. Remember?
Oh yeah. GoldenEye
Reloaded. I think
yeah.
I had that too. But like
and 007 Legends.
Yes, and I don't have that. But I started playing GoldenEye Reloaded again, like in the midst of all of the World War, or not World War II, but like they just released that. But like the Call of Duty games, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna play this with the body armor, like I did back in the day, and I died so quick all the time because I was so used to like cover, regen, health, that kind of stuff. And Doom is kind of the great equalizer because it is all about shield, health, like packs, and unlike most games, which is like get away, get health, get away, it's like
you're like Wolverine, you just heal back up.
Yeah, in this game, it's like no, you need health. Go chainsaw this guy in half and get health from him because you'll be rewarded that way. You got to get up close. You're not sniping people. You know, I mean, you can from afar, I guess. But another great thing too about this game is like the demons fight each other.
Oh well, they did in the original Doom games too.
Yeah,
especially if they accidentally hit each other, then they'd be like they would prioritize whoever hit them last.
Yeah, and full disclosure, like I've played the Doom games, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in Doom 2016 that is like I know is Easter eggs and callbacks to it, but I'm just not as familiar because I didn't grow up. I played a little bit here and there, but I was part of a household that was like none of that violent stuff in this household.
My mom almost like threw out like Wolfenstein 3D and stuff. And
yeah,
Doom 2,
like we had to like go over to friends' houses to play Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Sorry, Mom, it's true. Now I can say it. I'm 31 years old. I wasn't playing Mario at my buddy's house. We were playing Mortal Kombat, and that's where I first.
Sean Crane is such a bad
That's
influence
right,
on you.
Going
I hope
over.
he listens.
Yeah. But and that's where being introduced to Doom and stuff like that, and Duke Nukem and all that kind of stuff. But In this game, yeah. So like it's not like you can just let them fight each other and not to do anything. But sometimes that helps because like a big motherfucker is coming towards you, and then like a little demon pawn gets in the way, it just gets obliterated, and you're like, oh well, that's one less guy I have to worry about. Yeah. And speaking about the music being great, is like when the music kicks in, you know, it's about to go down, and it's not until when the heavy metal stops, then you know you can take a breather, and. You would think like the game, like just from the outside, like seeing like a clip of it, maybe it gets repetitive, but like a lot like Arkham Knight, which I really love too, is like the game makes you feel like just like a total badass. Like, I mean, you're sitting there playing a video game, you know, like, oh yeah. But like it does because, you know, Doomslayer, there's no cutscenes. He literally punches the computer to shut off the tutorial because you just shoot. There's a crouch button, but I don't think you ever need it. I think, you know, I mean, maybe if you want to like
crouch in the original Doom as well.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you want to move around, whatever. But you know, so many great different enemies, which I know is a nod to the, you know, original Doom stuff. But it's so much fucking fun, man. And it is difficult. Like it is very difficult at times. And then, but the game is so smart with like playing up. It's crazy because it's like it's so unlike any of the games out now. Like I said, you know, it's not like prompting you to hit the A button now, hit the B button now. Like again, I don't have a problem with those games necessarily, but it's nice to go back and play a game like this, but with the modern graphics. Because it's a really, I mean, it's obviously super brutal and violent, but it's a really gorgeous looking game though. Like the graphics and like the big open world, and it you know, like it really rewards you for exploring the map. You know, it's not about going from A to B. Yeah. Or A to C and missing, you know, B. You know, it's like it is about
you get the secret areas. I'm sure
secret areas, and it's the great thing too is by finding the secret areas, you're going to be able to upgrade your weapons. You're going to be able to upgrade your armor and get modifications on your weapons. And the game's not like holding your hand where it's like if you just burn through the levels and you don't like try to like do some of these challenges, your shit's going to be weak, son. And when you're in hell, you're going to get fucked up.
As you do.
Yeah. But I remember you and I, we played what? We like burned through Doom one day when we were living together back in Fairfax.
Yeah, because I have the original. I have Doom and Doom 2 on my 360.
I have Doom 2 on, I think I got it on 360 and it you know, transferred over to Xbox One. But as soon as I'm done with this, I'll go back just for fun and you know, be more familiarized with it. Because I hope it starts a whole brand new franchise because it did really well critically and you know, I'm sure it sold really well too. I would love to play more Doom because it is a fucking great time. It really is. And I bought it on Thanksgiving.
That's what Duke Nukem Forever should have been.
Oh yeah, I remember I was working at a Blockbuster when that came out, and it was like this, like, you know, waiting for it, and it just was like, what is this? Again, I'm not super familiar. I'm even less familiar with that game than I am with like the Doom franchise. But
there's really only one Duke Nukem game worth playing, and you can at me. It's the original Duke Nukem 3D.
Okay.
Christopher.
Oh, yes.
Did you get into anything?
Oh, Christopher.
Well, actually I did. Surprisingly.
Shit.
Yeah, I know, right? It's been a whole week, boys. I've done something. Something worthy of talk.
Just talk.
And actually, technically, this bleeds into something that I should have brought up last week, but it was such a jam-packed episode of feelies that I didn't want to get my wheelies in there. But I've started training to be a professional wrestler. And
yeah.
Thanks, Jake.
My man.
Yeah.
My man. Yeah. But yeah, so I've had 2 days of training so far.
That's exciting.
So basically, I'm as good as Chris Jericho.
Trains at 100 times Earth's gravity.
I'm the GOAT. But no, so but it's been pretty fun. Except this week I kind of threw out my back and didn't really notice it until my second day of training.
What a wrestler,
right? And I was running the ropes, and I realized, oh, this top rope is jabbing right into a spot in my back that kind of hurts. And then over the next couple days, it started to hurt a lot more. And I almost chose to sit this episode out just because I was like falling asleep because of my pain medications earlier today. But I am here for you, fans. Zach.
Fan.
Yeah, Zach.
Is it wild that we got like, without going into specifics, you saw how many we got by the end of this first weekend?
Yeah. We got a ridiculous number of downloads already.
Yeah.
It's just, It's like the first week of December, and we're already well on our way to like half of what we had last month total. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie starring Liv Tyler? Is it Empire Records? No,
Yeah, it actually probably is.
Oh, okay.
And the only other one that comes to mind right now is Armageddon.
Jersey Girl. Gah,
Oh.
gah, gah. I love that movie for real.
But yeah, so you're back.
Yeah. Back in the New York groove. This isn't Kiss My Podcast. Yeah, so I somehow threw out my back and have been somewhat bedridden ever since. But wrestling training, it's mighty fun. I've already gotten to, started learning how to like lock up with dudes, toss people around. And all the guys that are working there are really excited because I'm a really big guy, and most of the people that are there in the training seminar are like tiny dudes, so it's cool to have a little variation in it.
Get that Braun Strowman in there.
Exactly. I am the Braun Strowman to their Rey Mysterios. But yeah.
619.
Yeah.
Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka.
He was a
619.
stunt double for Freddy Krueger and Freddy vs. Jason.
I know, that blew my fucking mind when you told me that shit. I was trying to remember what it was. I was like, Spider-Man? No, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, he was Freddy Krueger's stunt double in Spider-Man.
Oh! That's what it is.
Samsonite.
Slappy.
But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. I
cool, man.
got to drive all the way to this dude's house in Maryland because he has like a ring set up in his backyard.
I saw some pics.
Yeah, and he's a
Very
cool
cool.
dude. He works a lot with the Nova Pro Wrestling that I go to on a regular basis. And he was like, yeah, just come on down. Don't worry, no, there's no specific fee for you guys. Just pay what you can, help out. Because he puts on free shows as well. So we're throwing him a bit of money. Me and the group of guys that I'm going with, there, throwing him a bit of money as a thank you. But he didn't specifically set a specific price because he likes us.
Cool.
And it's
Very,
more of
very
just
neat.
like a training center versus an actual like school. So like there are guys there that have been doing it for years. There's guys that have been doing it for days, and the more experienced guys will kind of like guide the newer guys and teach them things kind of on a request basis. They'll be like, well, here's some good things for us to start out with, and then like after the first hour, they're like, okay, what do you guys want to learn? Let's figure things out. And we spend like 3 or 4 hours there, doing shit. And there's probably like maybe 10 people there. So like, to go over, everyone gets like a little bit of individual help. So that's why, we're spending 3 hours there just doing simple random stuff. But yeah, it's fun.
Cool, man. That's exciting.
Once my back, I think I might have to sit out this coming week just because of my back. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal, but I don't want to get it. I don't want to make it worse before it gets better.
What's like, when you hit big and you become a big famous wrestler, and they're like, so Chris, tell us about your first injury. How early into your career? You're like, day 2.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You're already getting those battle scars, baby.
Yeah.
The Spanish word for scar is cicatriz.
Oh. Maybe that'll be my wrestling name when I wrestle down in Mexico.
Cool. Well, again, that Injection Volume 3 and Savage Town is out in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology today. Yeah, man.
And read them.
They're all good.
Yeah.
And they're all different.
Yeah, for real.
They're all so fucking different.
Yeah. And also, go back and pick up friend of the show, Becky Cloonan's Punisher run, because Declan did the covers. And they're fucking...
Hand-drawn.
Hand-drawn.
None of that copy-paste shite.
Look at it. It's fucking... They're gorgeous. Gorgeous covers and a great run by Becky Cloonan.
It's like the cobbler and the thief up in this bitch. Because that... Yeah.
I got you.
For those listening
Fam.
that don't know, The Cobbler and the Thief was an animated movie that took like 30 years to make because everything was individually hand-drawn.
All of it.
Yes.
All of it.
No shortcuts in this biatch.
But yeah. So with the voice of Vincent Price.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love Vincent Price.
And Matthew Broderick.
Yes. Yes. Well, anyway, this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
Jake,
Fried chicken.
thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
Come with me, and you'll see in a world of pure imagination. And you'll hear. I don't know what the fuck the rest of the words are.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.